Welcome, everyone. My name is Andra Bayless, and I am honored to welcome you to the Mohanji Center of Benevolence Heart to Heart Women's Circle. You will hear stories of special women who greeted life's challenges with poise, compassion, and love, and with an elegance of character that will warm your heart. Mohanji, the humanitarian and philanthropist who founded the Mohanji Center of Benevolence, inspired the Heart to Heart Women's Circle. He often speaks about the importance of women, saying, women have been the backbone of society ever since the beginning of mankind. Mohanji feels that women are actually the encouraging force helping to transform humankind into kind humans. He feels that 3.5 billion women around the world are worthy of great respect for their many contributions to the family of humanity. You will see, through listening to the stories of these special women today, how each has made a difference in the world. May their stories inspire your mind, kindle your heart, and illuminate your soul, as well as inspire your own life's journey. Naturally, you will have questions, and we put aside a few minutes for questions and answers after all the guests have had a chance to share. And now, my dear friend, Savi Ashtamurti, a woman for all seasons herself, will introduce our facilitator, Namitha Bhatt, for today's program. Savi?
Thank you for the beautiful welcome speech, Andra. Now, let me introduce you to our wonderful facilitator and a very close friend of mine, Dr. Namita Bhatt. Namita is a medical doctor specializing in endocrinology with over a decade of experience working within hospital systems across multiple states. Now, however, she is focused on building her independence practice as she partners with rural hospitals and clinics in Arizona. As a core member of our Heart to Heart leadership team, Namida is passionate about empowering women in today's world. Namida?
Thank you so much for the very kind and flattering introduction, Savi. So today, we really are very fortunate to have three very special guests with us. Lisa Buccigrosse, Sonal Jain Baid, and Barbara Hildt, who have wonderful stories to share with us. And personally, I can't wait to hear their journeys, and I'm sure all of our dear audience can't wait either. So let me take the pleasure of introducing our first guest, Lisa Buccigrosse. Lisa is the founder and owner of Farm Angels Sanctuary, a nonprofit animal rescue in Surprise, Arizona. Her lifelong passion for animals led her to establish this beautiful sanctuary in 2018, where she provides a safe, permanent home for over hundreds of animals, including cows, horses, sheep, goats, pigs, birds, tortoise, etc. Lisa's dedication to animal care is tireless, and we would love to hear from you, Lisa, as to how you do all of this. So please join me in welcoming Lisa Buccigrosse. Welcome, Lisa, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here. And thank you, Namitha, for the intro. Love, passion, empathy for animals. It started when I was actually a very young child. And it started individually. I was the only one in my family really that had this compassion and love for animals. And from very early age, I actually became a vegetarian. It started there. I just had such a connection with animals. Again, even before I was a teenager, made that decision that, based on the connection I had with them, I could no longer consume them. And then as I continued to grow and get older, I started just rescuing animals that I could, when I lived at home with my parents. What was I allowed to rescue? What was I allowed to take in my bedroom, right? Always getting permission though. And then as I moved out, got my own place, I started rescuing other types of animals like dogs, cats, and things like that. But I always had a passion to start rescuing farm animals. And I didn't start out with the passion to have a sanctuary. My passion just started with wanting to help animals, those that didn't have help, those that didn't have a voice, that needed human intervention to basically provide them a loving, caring, forever home. So in 2017, I moved to a different location in Arizona in order to be able to have farm animals. And at that point, I started taking in horses. So there's a definitely need for horse rescue, especially horses that are referred to as companion horses, horses that can no longer be ridden. They're not as desired by people to have because they're not getting a benefit per se out of it. But for me, that was okay. I didn't need to get a personal benefit out of it. I wanted to provide, again, a lifelong home for animals, for horses, for starters. So I started out with horses. Of course, start with the largest animal first, right? And then from there, just for my love of all animals, it just expanded. And then in conjunction with my willingness to always want to learn and learn more about animals, learn more about their care, then I got some sheep. After sheep, then we added some goats, and it kind of just grew. And the really nice thing that we have here is that they all coexist together based on the I'm so sorry. I don't know how I got muted. Okay, hopefully it wasn't too long. But anyway, we just, continued to add more animals. And again, this was just something privately I was doing out of the back of my home on my property. And then just through word of mouth, more people became aware of it because I was a resource for different people, helping them out, owner surrenders, and things like that for animals that were coming in. And then, through positive peer pressure, it was, well, why don't you make this public? People need to know about this. This is a great thing that's going on. And I was like, I never really thought about that because, as I mentioned, I didn't have a particular goal of what it was going to be. It was just, this is my passion. This is what I'm going to do. And then it basically morphed into what it is now today. Then once I made it public, made it a nonprofit, word got out there. And at this point, we've performed rescues and intakes from across states. We help individual owners, and we also help law enforcement agencies take in animals, from stray cases to cruelty cases, everything in between. One thing special about our sanctuary is it is a forever home for our animals. So the animals that do come in, they do stay here. So we provide them their forever home once they reach here. We don't adopt them out. We don't sell them. I get the question, well, that's a lot of animals. How do you prevent them from having babies and things like that? All of our males are fixed. So we don't do any breeding whatsoever of any of the animals here. We serve as an educational resource for schools, for community members that want to come out and learn more about animals. We do definitely clearly establish that this is not a petting zoo. That's not what the purpose of this is. We take the animals in any condition, and then we do rehabilitate them as needed. And I think that's in a nutshell what we do. I mean, there's a lot deeper level things that we do with the animals, but just kind of how it is and what it is today. But it's ever changing. And we're continuously adapting to the new intakes that we have.
First of all, that was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And for me, knowing that that is a forever home was so important for me to know and for everyone to know. So the second question is, what were some of the challenges that you experienced and how did you overcome them?
So I have to say the challenges are ongoing. And it's not just there's challenges and then they're finished. So just some things to bring to light in the type of rescue work I do with farm animals. I mean, we're talking about animals based on societal norms are also seen as, we're going to just refer to it as food animals. Obviously, we don't refer to them here as that, but that's how in society many of our beloved animal friends are seen as that. So we are faced with the challenge from the treatment that they receive, just the continuous interaction and how much of society views the animals that we have here. So that also impacts the types of services, grants, and different support like that we can or cannot receive based on just, again, overall, the societal view of farm animals. We do provide them with the best veterinary care. We do run into challenges with that sometimes as well, because if you think about it, these are animals that we do consider pets. We do consider these our family. Other people have views of, how they see their dogs and cats. We see our animals here in the same light, and we treat them the same way and we give them those same chances, but we run into those challenges again. I'm just going to call it, societal norms. And we're outside of those norms of what we do and how we provide care to our animals. So that is an ongoing challenge. It's not a challenge that deters me from doing anything or the care that I provide to these animals, but it is something that going into situations I am aware of, and I know that I have to be the advocate for these animals, because there's not many other people who do farm rescue work in this capacity.
Lisa, let me ask you something. You mentioned about how people view these animals. So the question to you is, have you come up with a way to overcome that particular problem that you're faced with probably quite often in terms of getting grants? Could you just share succinctly what your thoughts are, so that, because there may be other people wanting to do this and having to face that very same problem?
Right. I mean, you have to find the right people that want to support your cause, right? Luckily, we got in contact with when Meetha and her husband found us, right? Because the ACT Foundation, they've been great supporters of what we're doing. But it is hard to find, because again, when I say, I'll give you an example of societal norms. When we take one of our farm animals to the vet and they are administered medication, they are required legally by law to put what their withdrawal time is. That means that they have to put on there how many days you need to wait if you were to slaughter that animal and consume them. So that is on our discharge, on our paperwork from the vets. Because again, when we talk about societal norms, we're talking national level requirements that they have to have on there. And when you see that, withdrawal time, 21 days, and they always will put a comment, because they know, because I get upset with those. They know we understand that this is a beloved pet, but we're required by law to put this statement in our discharge papers. So that's just an example of how there are certain things bound, unfortunately, at this point in time, to farm animals.
Thank you. Namitha, welcome back.
I'm sorry for the technical issue, but I have personally visited Lisa's farm, and what she does for all of these animals is just unbelievable. She's such a strong pillar of strength for all of these animals. She's such a strong advocate, and she really takes care of each of these animals just like her own human children, and she's so observant. She's such a keen observer. There are hundreds of animals in her farm, but even if one animal gets like a small ulcer, she knows, she cares for them, she makes sure they're healed. So her compassion for these animals is just beyond what a normal person can do. And I always look at her like the Mother Teresa for these animals. So thank you so much for sharing your heartfelt journey and what you do for all of these animals, Lisa. Really, thank you so much. And now moving on to our next guest, who I can't wait to hear from as well. Sonal Jain Baid. And Sonal is a visionary leader in sustainable fashion, dedicated to ethical practices and social responsibility. Starting her journey in 2000 with industrial scale natural dyeing, she later founded Mayu, India's first 100% organic cotton, non-toxic intimate wear brand. Through her nonprofit, Sustainable Earth Foundation, Sonal supports organic cotton farmers and empowers women artisans while continuing to lead change as a consultant and investor in ethical business. Please join me in welcoming Sonal Jain Baid. Welcome, Sonal. Thank you so much for being here. We're all very eager to listen to you and hear your inspiring story. So, what really inspired you to get involved in sustainable fashion, and how did it, really evolve into your vocation?
So the thing is that I am not from the textile or the fashion industry. Yeah. So the thing is that while I was growing up, I grew up in a Jain family, which was always talking about nonviolence and not to hurt anybody or anything, even microorganisms, even like table and chairs, even on that level. So we were always made to be a little more mindful about other things and other people. When I moved to Ahmedabad after I got married, and I moved to Ahmedabad, which is it's in the western region of India. Uh, it's a center for textile processing. That is, India's all cotton, all fabric comes there to be dyed and to be processed or to be printed, right? And I would see river filled with toxic waste, filled with color, filled with, and it would smell a lot. And so I was very curious, and I would just ask, why is this? Why is there so much color in the water? And then I was told that the factories around are throwing their waste in the rivers and in the water. Today, as a society, and the world knows that the rivers and the land is destroyed by the fashion industry. But back in the day, in 2000, even pre-Google days, we had no idea of that. We didn't know what the fashion industry was doing or the clothing industry was doing. So when I asked questions about it, and most people in Ahmedabad or in Gujarat that time were related to textile or fashion industry somehow or the other. Either they were dyeing, or they were printing, or they were supplying the colors, or they were making the colors. In some way or the other, people were involved in that industry. So to get answers was not so difficult, because I would ask what's going in there, what's happening in that. So they told me things like sulfuric acid is going in it. I'm not a scientist, but I've done a little bit of experiments in the school level, in my ninth and my 10th grades. And I realized that the ingredients that they're talking about, like sulfuric acid, it's extremely, extremely harmful, because we were always told to be very careful while using them, even in a small percentage. So that made me realize that what is happening with these factories is that they're throwing all this water inside, and it's destroying. But I had no understanding of how to solve it and what to do about it. So this question always loomed over my head, and it disturbed me for many years. And this was the time also that we were forced to buy bottled water because the water was polluted. So it completely made no sense logically. What's happening? If why are we made to buy water when water is in abundance, and why are we destroying it if this is the case that we are forced to buy water? But that during that time, I was working in a school, and it was an alternative school, and we did a workshop on painting with natural colors. So we plucked flowers and leaves from around us, and we crushed them and used them to paint. And that made me start thinking that if we can paint a small part of cloth, what about a larger piece of cloth? And I asked my trainer, the person who was teaching, who's an artist, and he said that up until 50, 60 years ago, that's how India was always dyeing or coloring the textiles. And that shook me. That completely shook me, and it changed every cell of my body. And I could just feel that transformation inside, that it didn't make sense at all. That if we were so successful for thousands of years, and the world was using dyes and natural colored textiles or fabrics from India, what did we do this? Why did we do this in the last 50, 60 years? Why have we destroyed our waters that we are forced to buy bottled water? And why I, as a consumer, I, as an Indian, doesn't know about this? Why don't I have that choice? So I had thousands of questions that I needed to get answered. And the very next day, I went and gave my resignation, which was not very well accepted. They were very upset about it. But I said, I'll finish the session with the children, and after the year ends, this is what I'm going to work on. I need to find answers. I need to know, why are we spending so much money on going to the Mars and the moon where we don't need to? Why aren't we spending money using the technology that we've always had. It's not like something new had to be discovered, right? It was always there and for thousands of years and very successfully so. So why did we go wrong? I just had too many questions I needed to get answered. And I started from my kitchen, and one thing led to another. My clothes turned out to be very patchy. So I said, okay, I have to stitch them. I can't sell textiles which are patchy. So that's how stitching entered it. And then one thing grew to another. And my idea was always, because I was seeing the factories destroying the water, my idea always was to get it to industrial level, to make it to a level where big factories also could use natural dyes. It should not remain a hand process or a handmade uh, level, because that was the industry's demand. So with that vision, I just started out and I was just out there answering the next question. It was just about the next question and just to solve a problem for the next question. That was the only thing. And I didn't think of it as a vocation, actually, to be honest. I was just answering questions that was they were inspiring me, but they were also something that I had to just find the answers for.
Yeah, I guess when passion becomes your vocation, you don't really realize that that's your vocation. But you've really given me a lot of insight too. I myself didn't know that toxins from the fashion industry are thrown out to water bodies, and how toxic it should be even to all the beings in water. And it's just so unfortunate that there is so much ignorance in the society that we live in today, and we take everything for granted. But thank you for sharing this, Sonal. Thank you, really. But I do have another question for you. How does your nonprofit, Sustainable Earth Foundation, address social and environmental challenges? I know you've shed some light, but could you please share a specific example with us?
So like I said, that I didn't know anything about the clothing fashion industry. I didn't know India had this beautiful culture of handmade textiles. I had no clue. I grew up in Bombay, which is a very, very urban, the most urban part of India. And I was absolutely clueless. But when my journey started in the textile industry, I had people come and tell me, okay, there is something like, I didn't even know about organic cotton, in fact. Actually, I just knew about dyes. I just knew about the colors. That was my starting point. But then it didn't end. So it was the whole supply chain that kind of came in front of me, and the chapters kept opening. And I got to know that there's this whole uh, part of India which is making textiles with hand, which is called handmade. The thread is made by hand, and the fabric is made by hand, and there's block printing, and all of this is there. And so it just really inspired me. And I would always also find, I mean, it was just come naturally to me that I would always find whenever I needed something to be done, or maybe like embroidery to be done, or I would need some stitching to be done, I would go and try to find women who are working in that space. And I would always come across NGOs who are either supporting women with physical challenges, or they were supporting women from broken homes, giving them shelter, or women from marginalized homes who were just looking to earn little money, and they had to take care of, they were like rag pickers or something, and they didn't have very good jobs. So there were nonprofits who were already working in it, and it really inspired me. And I felt that there is a lot that can be done in that space. So that's when I started focusing on working with the entire supply chain, from the farmers till the end, till the consumer, and try to see how we can remove toxins. Because with the workers, they get affected a lot. If I can give you an example, if a worker works in a factory and is exposed with the black dye, which is so popular in the world, if they are exposed to the black dye, in 7 years they get cancer and they can die. It's that harmful. It's very harmful for the user as well, right? It has lead in it, and a lot of people have experienced toxic exposure through it. But the clothing industry, it's very, very mean to the people who work in it also, and they are facing it every single day. And for my research, I would always visit factories who are doing chemical or synthetic, or the regular processing, or the regular making of fabrics, just to understand what's going on in the industry. And I couldn't spend even 5 minutes there. So I would wonder, how are these people spending 10 hours or 12 hours a day, or 9 hours, or even 5 hours a day over there? it was so, the sounds were so loud and the smell was so horrible. I just couldn't breathe. So that's when I felt that, there's a lot more that can be done about working with. So I started training programs, teaching people to do the weaving, teaching women to do hand spinning, work with the farmers who are growing organic cotton, engage the ladies to make the yarn by hand and then make the fabric by hand and then dye it with natural colors. Teach even the artisans who are existing artisans who had kind of started using synthetic dyes, teach them to use natural dyes, or how can they make or incorporate natural dyes. So just slowly, bit by bit, I try to remove toxicity in the entire supply chain, as well as giving the market. So the biggest challenge with the artisans is that they can learn and they can make, but they find very challenging to sell. So giving the market connect was my job, that if I have to continue giving them the work and inspire them to use non-toxic ingredients and materials, and they need to keep selling it.
Wow, this is really amazing, Sonal. I didn't even, the awareness was not even there that one piece of cloth can have so much in it. And I'm sure I'm going to think of you when I purchase or look at any piece of fabric. I'm sure I'm going to think of you. There is so much that the world needs to know. And thank you so much for joining us. I would have loved, we would all have loved to hear more from you, but whatever little insight you've given us today, I'm sure will kindle an inspiration to seek more awareness in all of us. And we really thank you for sharing all of this wonderful thoughts with us. And thank you for being with us. Now, moving on to our next guest, who we all are very eagerly waiting to hear from as well, Barbara Hildt. Barbara served as a Peace Corps volunteer in rural Brazil before becoming an art educator. She later advocated for children's needs, promoted parenting education, and was elected to 5 terms in the Massachusetts House of Representatives. In 1993, she became a public policy fellow at Harvard and directed Words Not Weapons, Massachusetts' first statewide violence prevention program. A founder of the Women's Legislators Lobby and former president of Women's Action for New Directions, she established Youth Empowerment Services, INC, a youth violence prevention nonprofit. Barbara now mentors in Chapala, Mexico, promoting safer schools and communities. Please join me in welcoming Barbara Hildt. Welcome, Barbara, and thank you so much for being here. I'm really amazed at how much your work has spanned across just your lifetime and across continents. So, could you please share with us what personal belief or experience has kept you motivated through all the challenges that you've faced since your journey has spanned across continents and causes?
Thank you so much. Wonderful to be with you. I think I should say that the reason probably I realized as a young person, maybe as a child, that my purpose was to promote peace was because my parents met in New York at a meeting about starting the United Nations. My mother had been an actress, and she went and lived in China and became interested in sociology, and she worked for the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. And my dad was a conscientious objector during World War II, ran a refugee guest house in Cambridge, Massachusetts, while he was at Harvard Divinity School. So I got this from my parents. I have to give them credit. So as a young person, I was very concerned about the nuclear arms race and wanted to be active in that. And I continue to be concerned about that. But over the years, what I've learned is that if we want to make peace in the world, we first have to make peace within ourselves and then in our relationships with others, right? And so, as you said, when I I finished 5 terms in the state legislature, and I didn't really know what I was supposed to do next. The way opened. I got on my correct path. I got out of politics, and I was offered this opportunity to design and direct a violence prevention campaign in 50 high schools all over the state, cities and rural. And I learned so much from that experience. It was called Words, Not Weapons. And so I most of my entire life, I've learned from young people, from working with young people. As an art teacher, I learned that helping kids discover their ability to be creative was a very good way to diminish any tendencies they had to be destructive, to become violent. And so I totally believe in promoting the arts and promoting creativity as part of peace building. But I have continued to do this work, and here in Mexico, although I'm older now, and my Spanish isn't quite up to doing workshops, but I've collaborated with Mexicans and doing some workshops and trainings. Most of my work was based on a program developed by the American Friends Service Committee, and I happen to be a friend, a Quaker, and it's called HIP, Help Increase the Peace Program. And so I used this curriculum for many, many years. And I discovered which activities were the best ones to help young people become friends. Because often what we would do, we would bring together groups of kids from different backgrounds, races, nationalities. I did this in Africa. I did this with kids from Northern Ireland, Protestant and Catholic. Kids who thought they could never be friends. And with using the HIP program, in one day often, they became friends. Because when we do youth development work, we're not teaching them, saying what they should believe and what they should do. We give them experiences where they learn how to help each other, and they learn how to build trust, and they learn how to listen with empathy. Obviously, we all want a kinder world. And so if we want that, we have to teach our kids to be kind. And the only way they're going to learn to be kind is to experience kindness themselves. And so, but I have to say that I keep learning and growing. And in the last couple of years, I took a class with a dear friend here, Jeanette, and her husband in heart coherence. And we learned about the power of the heart based on scientific research done by the Heart Math Institute. And so now I am a total believer in our ability to open our hearts. We do this in meditation. Open our hearts and receive this love energy of unconditional love that comes to us.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I think, Barbara, when you say that, there's so much to learn from young people, I resonate with that, because being a mother of a young child, I'm constantly learning, and giving them the experience is crucial. So thank you for sharing those pearls with me, which I'm going to, it's going to be very practically used for me as well. And I'm sure a lot of our audience. I love that, if peace is not within ourselves, we can't spread peace around. So thank you for that. But really, what was the most, I want to know, sort of, you've done so much. What was the most rewarding moment that reaffirmed the importance of your work? Because at some point we all need some reaffirmation. So what was it for you?
Oh, it's so hard to think of one moment, because every time I saw a young person's attitude change and them feeling that they could be peacemakers, and making friends. I mean, it just has happened so many times over and over again. So, but I want to share something that happened recently that really made me excited. I have a 9-year-old granddaughter, and she recently, she and one of her friends, she does a lot of theater, they decided they were going to start a club, and they call it Kids Can Change the World. And by the way, if you see this T-shirt I have on that says Teach Peace, there's a quote from Gandhi at the bottom that says, if we want to teach peace to the world, we have to begin with our children. So my daughter shared with me the plan that my granddaughter and her friends have to change the world. And they're just starting. And I haven't even had a chance to talk to her about this yet. But it excites me so much that a child not even 10 years old would feel, and a little girl, by the way, a female, would feel like she and her friends can do things to change the world, to make the world better. And that just made me so happy and hopeful.
Yeah, maybe soon, she'll be on our webinar as well, geared towards what she's doing. But thank you for sharing that. That was, that's so inspiring to all of us that who are listening to you, and I'm sure inspiring to all the young mothers as well. So thank you for that. Awe-inspiring sharing from your heart. Thank you, Barbara. Now, we move on to a participatory round where we'll ask one question to all of our inspiring speakers today. Our question first would be to Lisa. So Lisa, what advice would you give to a woman who feels that she has an important vision for change, but does not know where to begin?
I would say, start small and start where your passion is. You have to have the passion behind it. I'm just gonna, when I shared my example, I didn't have this very large ultimate end goal, what I wanted, but I started small. And again, it was with my passion. And then from there, I think it will take you to other places as well. So start smaller. Start with your passion, and then different paths and different doors will open for you.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, that first step is the most crucial, and then I guess universe will guide you. But Sonal, what would you say? What is your advice for a woman who feels she has an important vision for change, but does not really know where to begin?
I would agree completely with what Lisa had to say, that yes, start small, but stay curious is what my thing would be, And yes, you're very right, Namita, that the world gives you all the answers. The questions you ask and you get the answers. And it's one step at a time. And the first step is always the hardest one. So just take that step. It doesn't have to be the right step, is what I would say. It doesn't have to be the best step, but just the attempt to make that step. I think that's the big one.
That's really amazing. One is stay curious. So I think the eagerness to learn the childlike curiosity should always be with us for our entire life. And don't fear if it is the first right step or the first wrong step. Just the first step is important. So thank you for sharing that, Sonal. Now, Barbara, what would you have to say for a woman who feels like she has an important vision for change but does not know where to begin?
I would ask her some questions to begin with about her vision. And then I would advise her to try to connect connect with other women, connect with other people. And this is one of the advantages we have with the internet. I'll get an idea and I'll put something into a search, and an organization will come up that's doing the kind of work that, I believe is so important, and I didn't know about them. So then I might, connect with them. And I think what we're doing is we're creating webs of connection to create positive change in the world. So I think it's very important to stay open-minded and open-hearted.
That's, I think, one of our goals as well, and that's why this webinar, came into a sense where we can connect to women from different backgrounds who have inspirational stories to share with us, so we can strengthen ourselves, energize ourselves, and the community we live in. So, thank you for that, Barbara. Now, I would like to open up the floor to all of our audience listening. If any of you have any questions for our awe-inspiring speakers, please unmute yourselves and go ahead and ask questions, because this is your chance now to gain more from our inspirational speakers.
So hello, everyone. Thank you for this fantastic session. I had no idea how accomplished, if I could say that, each of these speakers is, and it is. I find it really inspiring. Each of your stories is different. It touches an aspect of life as such, each of which needs attention. So thank you for your wonderful work. But I am a part of the ACT Foundation. So if there is, I could leave my email behind. And if there is a way, I know that Lisa and Namita are already in contact. And, so if anybody's, we could talk more if there is more interest. But I would love to associate with each of you and, do more, join hands basically to collaborate and do more work. It's a charity organization. Then we have very simple values, just spread positivity everywhere around us. But I thank you for your inspiring talk today.
Thank you, Vidya. I'm sure if our guest speakers are okay, I can share their contacts with you for further collaboration. Kalpana, I think you had a question.
I don't really have a question, but listening to these wonderful speakers, I just wanted to say, while I was listening, my own heart opened up, and what's really critical and important is all the work that they do comes from the heart. Barbara spoke of unconditional love. Lisa also love for sustaining this, planet, the people. Lisa for animals. And what came to mind, I think, for all of us is faith in themselves and the purity of intention. When the purity of intention is for betterment of ourselves and everything around us, I think the universe just works with everybody. So thank you, ladies. So it's very inspiring. I just wanted to share what I felt.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kalpana. I think there are two things that Mohanji has sort of instilled in me personally. One is, where there is faith, there is no fear. And secondly, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the strength to be able to move forward despite of it. So these two things are like constant reminders for me, and Kalpana brought that out, and all of our speakers have shown that through their life and their inspiring stories. So thank you so much for that. If anyone else has any questions, please ask us. If not, I'm going to pass the mic on to Andra for a very special presentation.
Can you all hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay. All right, wonderful. So thank you so much. We all learned a tremendous amount from Lisa. We appreciate your compassion, your selfless efforts in running the Farm Angels Sanctuary. Truly, you were an angel, to be quite honest with you, doing this great work. And to you, Sonal, for being a leader and advocate in sustainable fashion, committed to ethical practices and empowering communities. And of course, to you, Barbara, for your lifelong commitment to violence, to nonviolence, actually. So one of the things I wanted to share with all of you is that your work is so empowering that I believe everybody would be loving to get in contact with you. And if there's a way that we can have your permission to share information, people who are interested in Lisa in terms of the sanctuary, people who are listening to Sonal and concerned about the clothing that is being bought by us here in the States as well as all around the world. And we'd love to get in touch with Barbara also, possibly even hosting workshops for helping children with peace efforts. I think every one of you has such incredible contributions to humanity in every regard. So if we could have your permission to share your information, people seeing all the different aspects will probably want to get in contact with you, maybe invite you also to speak about your particular area of interest. So we come to the end of our program, actually, and we would like to invite Vidya Rajagopalan to give out certificates of appreciation to each one of you. And Vidya serves as the president of ACT Foundation USA and is a member of the ACT International Council. ACT is Amucare Charitable Trust. And it's a global organization founded by Mohanji, who is also the founder of this particular initiative as well, Heart to Heart. And he founded the ACT Foundation in 2003, and it's dedicated to fostering compassion and selfless service. Vidya's unwavering dedication has touched countless lives, creating a lasting ripple of positive impact. And through her inspiring leadership, through her inspiring leadership, she continues to motivate others and to nurture a spirit of unity across diverse communities, embodying the true essence of service and compassion to all of humanity. So I'd like to turn this over to Vidya to do the presentation of certificates that you each absolutely deserve to receive.
Thank you, Andra. For those kind words. They embody the spirit of ACT. Each of those words stand for the spirit of ACT, and the idea behind starting of ACT was exactly what Andra read out. So I take those words for ACT. So I know I will go on to distribute the certificates that each of you ladies, of course, we're glad to be doing that. But if there is a possibility to the admin of this group, if there is a possibility of creating a page or some means of communication with, of course, these three women, and I know we've had some more. Inspiring people who presented previously. If there is a way for the general community to get in touch with all of these women, maybe it could be a heart-to-heart larger community that people can reach out to, and then maybe you can work with each of us. And of course, as an organization, ACT is more than happy to be with you. But that's just a suggestion. If it is a possibility to happen, that would be great. So as we present the first certificate to Ms. Lisa Buccigrosse, Mohanji Foundation USA is pleased to present these distinctive certificates of appreciation for the valuable contributions each of you have made by sharing your heartfelt stories and your life in itself. So Ms. Lisa Buccigrosse for her visionary leadership in founding the Farm Angels Sanctuary, and for her unwavering dedication and commitment to rescuing and providing a lifelong safe haven for all animals in need. This is for Lisa. Thank you so much. And now we'll go on to Ms. Sonal Jain Baid. I particularly enjoyed you had no idea. I learned quite a few things from your talk. So, Ms. Sonal Jain Baid, for her groundbreaking work in sustainable fashion, her dedication to ethical practices, and her empowering efforts to uplift communities through innovation and social responsibility. Thank you, Ms. Sonal. And we appreciate your presence here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very welcome. And of course, Miss Barbara Hildt, an inspiration in yourself, as it, what you're doing, and that is passing on to the next generation too. That's wonderful. To Miss Barbara Hildt for her visionary leadership, relentless advocacy, and devoted commitment to creating safer, empowered communities through her work in public policy, social justice, youth, and women empowerment. All of these are wonderful values. Thank you, Ms. Barbara, for being here and for doing all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you to each of you, Ms. Lisa, Ms. Sonal, and Ms. Barbara. Again, I enjoyed enjoyed this hour that we spent with you. Thank you again to the
Thank
organizers
you.
too.
Thank you, Vidya. Thank you for the kind words and thank you for presenting the awards. And first of all, our forever gratitude for all of you to come here and sharing the experiences, especially Miss Sonal, Miss Lisa, and Miss Barbara. It was really a touching, inspirational experience and stories, and it definitely touched my heart. I'm sure it touched all of your heart too. So we are forever grateful for you to come here and sharing your stories. Now, we have this heart to heart woman circle is meant to be an international women's program. We need to spread this word. We encourage everyone who is interested in knowing about future heart to heart programs, or if you are interested in conducting the heart to heart women's circle in your city, so please contact us. We are happy to help you. There are a lot of women out there who needs our support in challenging times. So, we are here to listen and support you with encouraging stories of women like you guys and who have overcome obstacles and made a difference in this world. So, our contact details are in the chat box. I'm sure you can see that very soon. And over to you, Andra.
Okay, thank you so much, Savi. What an incredible program. I cannot say any more than Savi has said or any of the other speakers, Vidya, but each one of you, and I'm talking to my own core members as well, each one of you is contributing to the betterment of humanity. And we need women. We need the compassion that women bring. We bring the love. We bring love, we bring thoughtfulness, we bring kindness, all of those things all of these beautiful attributes that each one of us brings, especially the guests that we heard today, whether it's through caring about animals, whether it's through clothing, whether it's through youth empowerment in peace efforts. We thank you all, and we're so grateful that you joined us today. And so to end this program, we have an amazing amazing poem that was actually written by one of our core members, Dr. Dinah Tungle, who unfortunately could not be here today. But she's written a beautiful, beautiful poem in honor of women. And I am also honored to actually read this too. And it says, "We are empowered women. Our ancestral mothers are in us. They are part of our daily being. They handed to us their wisdom, strength, generosity of spirit, and DNA for thousands of generations. Most of us who suffered and still suffering are guided by their divine, loving presence. They are telling us that we are perfect in our imperfections. The world needs a circle of women like ours. We share We need to share our innate love and compassion as part of our authentic selves without limitations. This is non-negotiable. We are mothers, grandmothers, sisters, aunts, life partners, and best girlfriends. Remember that we are mirrors. Among other things, we reflect to the world, our inner world, with full awareness. Our own transformation is going to heal those around us. We are empowered by the Supreme Consciousness or God, Guru, whatever you call that higher being, tradition and ancestors, as well as our own work. Liberated from the shackles of the past, we now live with the power of now. Live life fully. Savor the present moment. Thank you. So thank you all. We hope you enjoyed the program and are left feeling inspired by our wonderful speakers today. We will see you again in the spring of 2025 with our next heart-to-heart session with more women who have made this world a better place. To all of our sisters around the world, and we are all sisters, no matter what country, what religion we're from. To all of our sisters around the world, we wish you a very happy and fulfilling holiday season. God bless you all.
Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lisa, Sonal, and Barbara, for joining us today. For this very soul-stirring life experience of ours, for sharing that, and we all thoroughly enjoyed it and learned a lot from all of you. Thank you so much.